I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers, where our focus this week ties into a holiday tradition in the Joplin region. It's Dickensfest. And this year we're tying also into historic Murphysburg. And joining me today, our two guests are going to help tie everything together, Nancy Morton and Richard Lowery. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks.
Glad to
Judy.
be here.
And Nancy, you're with Historic Murphysburg, Richard with the Scottish Rite Valley, Joplin, kind of tying these two together. But Nancy, let's start off when people are watching, they say, well, what is Dickensfest? I'm sure people have heard of it for a while, but let's start off with a basic definition.
Well, it's actually a fundraiser that the Historic Murphysburg group from the residential district started. This is our 5th year. The Convention and Visitors Bureau have been great partners for us for several years, but we've really grown this event. It is a very intense, time-consuming event for the volunteers, but it brings so much value to the community, and we have really grown the attendance.
So this has become almost one of those Joplin traditions that
well,
people
we hope so.
put it on their calendar in December each year
yes.
and so forth. So the original idea was to have something to bring the community together?
During the Christmas season, yes. In fact, the downtown was also very instrumental in establishing a holiday celebration, and they were interested in something that we could do off the urban core, because there are so many activities going on downtown Joplin during the Christmas season.
Right. Now, for people who are watching who may not be from Joplin, we have a large viewership. Explain when we talk about Murphysburg what we're talking about as far as...
Well, Murphysburg is a residential historic district. It's locally designated. It was designated by the City Council in 1986. And right now, the local district runs from 1st on Sargent all the way to 7th Street on Sargent, and from 1st on Moffett to 5th Street on Moffett. And we're going to talk about, I'm sure that
coming up, how we're going to have some changes.
Yes, we are going to have some changes, but we literally have about 38 properties, just single-family properties in there, but there are many multifamily properties also.
So you're in close proximity to downtown, or the heart of the city.
We are.
Things together. And Richard, with the Scottish Rite Cathedral, you are right on the back door.
Exactly. We're right on the edge of the historic district, and proud to be hosting Dickensfest this year. This is the first for us.
Right. And that's how we're going to lead into this year's event, because you do have a new facility, a new venue, and tying together with the...
This is very exciting because, of course, just the fabulous architecture of the cathedral is going to lend a completely different air to all the events that we're going to have.
Well, Richard, tell me about how that tie came about, and the cathedral. So we'd like to become involved in this.
Well, Paula Callahan had a lot to do with it, in that she was looking for Masonic histories for the Monuments Tour in Joplin just this past year. And when she approached me about actually doing the Monuments Tour and discovering some of the history behind some of the Masons that are buried out of Mount Hope Cemetery, then we started developing a close business relationship between Murphysburg and the Scottish Rite. And through that relationship, we actually decided to go ahead and pair up and offer Dickensfest through the Scottish Rite, in the Scottish Rite building.
So when we say that's the main point, is you are having the activities in the building this year.
Oh, yes. Every floor will be full. On Friday night, we're going to start off with the grand reception, and it's going to be on the 2nd floor. Is that correct?
I believe so.
On the 2nd floor, it's going to be, we're going to have this wonderful hors d'oeuvre buffet with a cash bar. We will have, I think Richard's offering tours of the Scottish Rite, because a lot of people, even though that facility has been there for close to 100 years, there are a lot of people that have never seen the inside.
It's one thing we drive by every day, but we don't know what the inside looks like.
Oh, it's so grand. But then on Saturday and Sunday, each floor will, just 2 floors.
Two floors.
The bottom floor will have the London Marketplace, which is where all the craft vendors are. And then on the 2nd floor,
the upper floor,
you call it the Grand Auditorium? Is that what you call it?
That's what I call it.
The Grand
I just call it auditorium, but that's
will
okay.
be host to a continuing group of performances by, we have 4 dance companies that are going to be, their students are going to be performing. The Heartland Opera is going to be performing, and Dr. Lyle's group, the Missouri Shakespeare Company, is going to be performing.
So entertainment ongoing,
yes,
as well as the other activities.
Besides what's outside. Yeah, and we've had what we have on the outside, we have had, this will be the 5th year, and we just keep bringing back all the popular things. The Trackless Train is one of the, oh, it is so fun. It is really fun. And the carriage rides around the neighborhood.
So for people who haven't attended in the past, it's more than just, let's go watch a performance and then we leave. There's a lot more you can do and really put a full day or evening into it.
Absolutely. And there's food. There will be food. In fact, the John Wise House, which is right across the street from the Cathedral, it will be an entertainment venue, a hospitality venue on Saturday and Sunday. The hours are from 2 to 8 Saturday and Sunday. Yes, that's a long time. So they will be offering hospitality over at the John Wise House, but there will also be food vendors on outside.
So there's bustling activities.
There are a lot. There's a lot to do.
And we haven't said the dates. People are probably saying, when is this happening?
Okay, well, this year it's going to be Friday, December the 12th, and it runs through Sunday, December the 13th.
So full
no,
weekend.
the 14th.
12th, 13th, 14th.
Yes,
right, and tying that together. Well, let's talk about the cathedral, Richard. I know we have some pictures, and our crew can call some of those up. But people, as I said, a lot of people drive past the building, and they see it, so they're probably perhaps curious about some of the history. You say more than 100 years old, and this has been really an established location in Joplin for many years. So give us some background about the Scottish Rite Cathedral.
Well, the Scottish Rite actually instituted itself as an organization in 1901 with a Lodge of Perfection. And the Scottish Rite, you've got to kind of understand, is composed of 4 different lodges. The Lodge of Perfection, the Knights Rose Croix, the Knights of the Council Kadosh, and the Consistory. And each one of those has a separate charter. 1901 was the Lodge of Perfection, 1902 was the Rose Croix, 1903 was the Council of Kadosh, and 1904 was the Consistory. After that initial group formed in a Masonic Lodge Hall, they started in 1901, and actually met at 5th and Main Streets, I believe. But they soon outgrew those quarters and needed a bigger building, so they moved to 823 Main Street and occupied that building for a while. After just a few years, their numbers started expanding so much that they needed their own separate building.
We want to be separate and have our own place, right?
Exactly.
What you're seeing on the screen now, this is some of the building that you've then constructed.
Yeah. Charles Schifferdecker actually donated the land the building sits on around 1910. About 1915 or so, the building plans got completed, and then they started construction and was interrupted by World War I. And then finally, the construction was restarted after the war and completed in 1923.
And as you can see, it's quite a facility. And the building itself, the architecture, people, I don't know if they could see on their screens at home, but there's a lot of detail on the building, just from the outside, the architecture.
That's a Beaux Arts architecture, and it's very, very well done.
The beautiful building on the outside, but the inside is just grand.
It's a treasure.
So this event is an opportunity for people who have never seen the inside to be able to come in and see
to showcase it. Absolutely, and we are just so tickled that they have partnered with us to be able to do this.
Now we're seeing some additional pictures that are tying into the Murphysburg residential area, and we'll see some of the different homes. As you mentioned, the boundaries of what's involved, but all of these homes have a lot of history behind each home as well. The people who built it and the people who were there.
Yes. In fact, most of these homes that you're seeing in these pictures today, these were homes of what we call the founding fathers of Joplin. In fact, you're going to see, this one, it was designed by actually the architect that whose home my husband and I reside in. His name was Austin Allen, and a lot of these homes with the markers that you see were designed by Austin Allen. They are on Sargent.
Okay.
They run from second all the way up to about 3rd or 4th. But Austin Allen was also responsible for designing City Hall.
So he had a big part in the Joplin's early days.
Absolutely, in yes. He designed St. Peter's. He designed the Jewish synagogue, and the old Elks right there on the corner of 4th and Pearl.
So a lot of these homes are tied right into that time period when Joplin was really the booming center of activities.
Absolutely.
And a lot of work into maintaining and preserving these homes then.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at their conditions and realizing how old they are, people have really put a lot of hard labor and love into those homes.
As property owners, we say that we are just the caretakers, and that is that is the most that we will ever be, and I think people that have lived in the district and maintained their homes for a long time are looking forward to that next generation who will take over the responsibility.
Now the signage outside the homes, those are local designations?
That
then?
is local designation. The City of Joplin makes the signage available to property owners who go through, they just have to apply for them, and they have to apply for the appropriate signage on how they're going to show it,
Right.
and it usually should match the architecture of their home. But I think that these property owners have done a great job of showcasing their homes through this signage.
So really it's a nice driving tour. Do you find people driving up and down the street looking at homes?
Oh, we do. In fact, we really encourage, we have printed walking tours of the district, and we really encourage people to walk the district because there's so much of the architecture you can't see because of the mature landscaping that we also enjoy.
Right. Those trees are just as old as the homes in many
Yes,
cases.
they are. They can be.
Around the area. So the community working together on this project, you talked about the designation in the 1980s, that you really, a lot of residents, a lot of the city working together to make this possible at the beginning.
Well, we are now enjoying a great deal of satisfaction, I can say, but this, the whole preservation process started back with the Joplin Heritage Trust, and those people, they are our heroes today because it took a lot of patience to get where we are today, and they were the forerunners. They were the ones that convinced the city council to establish a historic preservation commission, and that's where it all started, because then you have the ordinances that have established the guidelines for what we have
For
today.
what you have today. So it took some vision in the early days.
It did.
You know, we
and
have
perseverance.
perseverance. And tying that together. So the local historic preservation efforts have been a key factor. You mentioned at the beginning of the program that Dickensfest is a fundraiser for historic Murphysburg. So how, people might be curious, how are those funds then used for the district?
Well, we have been, let's see here, Murphysburg has been a nonprofit since 2005, and we have, as a result of our efforts, our volunteer efforts, we have put on fall gardens and walking tours, holiday tours of these homes, the Murphysburg Street Fair, the Joplin Historic Sacred Places Tour, which was really, it was a tour during the Christmas season in conjunction with Dickensfest of our first churches.
Oh, okay. The
And-
historic of the religious side of the history.
Being
of
in
the city.
the tours of the insides of the to see the architecture of our first churches, it was very well attended. And we have done, Paula, as Richard said, Paula and I do guided tours. We take tour groups through the neighborhood. But these are all of this energy goes into actually just fundraising for our nonprofit. And sometime you should have Paula on so you can ask her, because, well, no, it's just really interesting because the big drive when we started was so that we could put historic streetlights into
So
the
started
district.
out, we want some lighting to fit the time period of the home.
Right, and now we've gotten to the point where we've actually been able to locate some solar lights, which everything's going to be green in the neighborhood. But you know, that also has taken a lot of it's taken vision, and we're still not there. There's just we just keep accumulating funds, and hopefully we will. I mean, we do have the plan, but now that the district has really grown, it was just we were going to put streetlights in
That was the
the
main goal
local
of
district. So
How can you grow from there and develop
yes,
the
but
program?
I'm looking forward to that first light being put in, because I think it will really make us. It will really add to everything else that's going on in the district.
So in addition to the preservation, and perhaps in both of your cases, the preservation, but also education. You know, you're educating about the history, and with your facility, the education, the history of the building, and what it's meant for the community as well.
Exactly. We went on the National Register of Historic Places in 1990, and since that time we've kind of opened up the building to more public uses and becoming an event center. Just in the last couple of years, I think, we've really started focusing on the event center part of our program, and opening it up. We already have weddings and anniversaries, but we want to open it up to more programs like the Murphysburg,
like the Dickensfest and community groups and so forth.
You betcha.
So when groups are interested in a facility, what type of things do you have to feature? Obviously you have an auditorium, you have places where you can serve meals and dinners. And,
it's a gorgeous auditorium, a French Renaissance style of architecture, which if you know anything about architecture is very, very fancy. The big feature in the auditorium is that big molar pipe organ. The pipes go clear through the ceiling of the auditorium. The auditorium's ceiling alone is, I'll bet it's 40 feet high. Just gorgeous. But we've got that will seat about 385 people or so, a full proscenium stage, so theatrical productions can go on in there. As a matter of fact, we finished a theatrical production just last week and managed to net a pretty good fundraiser. The main floor is its focus is the tea room, what we call the tea room. It has a butterfly oak wainscoting that's actually imported from Italy, and the craftsmanship in that room is just astounding. On that floor especially, you can see kind of themed rooms throughout the building, especially on that main floor. And then downstairs we've got an a dining room that will seat probably close to 380 people.
Very spacious.
Wow, very good room.
And we've got a full commercial kitchen. So if a caterer wants to come in and actually cook inside our kitchen for a wedding or reception or something, then we can allow them to do that.
You have the facilities for them to use that.
Exactly.
You mentioned the pipe organ, and I think I read that it was really rare as one of the few, or was one of the first west of the Mississippi. It has some history in itself.
It is. It's actually one of 4 that were ever installed west of the Mississippi, this particular model. What's happened to the other 3, I can only account for 1 other, and that's because we've actually got 2.
Oh, okay.
And in the main auditorium is the main console. A duplicate console is installed in the choir room up to the north of the auditorium on an upper floor. Seldom used, but it's there. So we've actually got 2 of those consoles that were ever installed this side of the Mississippi.
So for music lovers and people, I mean, that's something that they can
I
rarely see
understand
anywhere.
that the organ is going to be played during this weekend event, isn't it?
Well, that was kind of a surprise, but yes.
You spilled one of the secrets.
Spilled the surprise.
Spilled the surprise.
I didn't know it was a surprise. It was in my notes.
The pipe organ is a beautiful machine.
Just the
beautiful
sounds
instrument.
that come out of it and everything. Right?
When you hear the notes are just amazing, and it can actually physically rattle the walls of the auditorium if the player chooses to do that.
Well, I think the acoustics lends itself to the music because just of the way the interior of this.
It's built for those types of presentations.
Oh, yes.
We've had quartets, barbershop top quartets come in, and one of the most unusual experiences I ever had, he actually came in and started whistling as he came into the auditorium. He walked all over among the seats, up on the stage, into the floor, and when he stopped, he says, "This has the most amazing acoustics I've ever seen."
He could be heard no matter where he was.
Yes, exactly. It was amazing, and I took it as a grand compliment.
Yeah. So a lot of planning, a lot of design into that building for those types of things as well.
Well, I think the architect took that into consideration.
Right.
He did.
Now, the performances that you're going to have at Dickensfest, they'll be utilizing the facility like that. I imagine some of those groups are really looking forward to the opportunity.
They are,
of
because
performing
they've
there.
never been in. I've talked to 2 of the dance instructors. They've never even been inside until they went to look at it in preparation for their performance, and they are very, very excited about it.
A chance to do something and be able to, in a facility for their performers and tying that together. And that's a great opportunity for people to get involved in the performance side as well as the spectator side and coming in to enjoy that, people sitting in the audience and tying that together. Now, Murphysburg, I wanted to make sure we have time to talk about the fact that you're a local historic district, but you have aims to become national.
Well, actually, we are going to be placed on the National Register. Now, the city and the state worked together to determine that the local district was good, but they wanted to broaden Murphysburg. So the National Register nomination has broadened it to include properties on Byers, Joplin, Wall. There's 140.
So you're kind of widening the areas.
Right. There's 140 properties that are designated as contributing. There are 60 secondary structures, which could include garages or carriage houses.
Okay.
And they are contributing. It covers over 53 acres.
So it's a big
But
piece of
it is.
Yeah.
It's a big piece, but it's really exciting because it is going to be opening up great economic development for all those properties that are contained inside it.
And that's probably one of the questions people are watching will ask, well, what does this mean to the people who live there to live in that type of designated district?
Well, it's great for the property owners that live there, but it's also great for if you have investment property there or if you're interested in investment property, because if the property that you live in, if it is if it is determined by the state to be a contributing resource, you could qualify for 25%. You can use your income tax to offset.
So there are tax benefits to help you with the upkeep and the maintenance.
Absolutely. And if you're an investment, if you have a piece of property as an investment that qualifies, you also have the federal tax credit available to you. Now, the Missouri Historic Preservation Tax Credit, if you don't owe taxes or you just want to leverage it, there are companies that buy and sell these, and right now they're going for about 92 cents on the dollar. So it's just a great economic tool. And with our historic properties, you have to have a lot of tools in your toolbox to make these
projects happen
and to maintain them.
We hear a lot about economic development. This is perhaps an aspect of economic development people don't think of.
They don't think about. And besides the fact that you're bringing these properties up to, up to livable residences again, you're also putting local people to work.
The craftsmen, the people who be working in those
that are working on them, and not just craftsmen, but your eligible expenses include the mechanicals, roofs, anything.
The things we take for granted in a home. Right?
Absolutely. And a lot of people think, oh no, it's, you have to restore it to a museum style facility, and that isn't true at all. It's very common sense economic development.
So part of this designation then is educating the property owners in the areas as it expands and letting them know about those opportunities.
Absolutely.
Now, for the citizens of the region who may not live there, to have this type of community within a community designation, what does that mean for John Q. Public lives on the other side of Joplin or watching from outside
Well, if John Q. Public happens to live in an older neighborhood, John Q. will be very interested to learn that the city of Joplin also is in the process of updating their historic preservation plan. And when that preservation plan is updated, it will identify other areas of the community that can be historic districts, just like Murphysburg. In fact, we like to say that we are happy to be mentors for the other historic districts that will be, because we've already done it. But it literally comes from your property owners.
It's driven by the people who are living there and own those homes.
Absolutely. It's not driven by anybody else, because you have to show a willingness. You have to prove to your city leaders that this is what you want. And if you want it, it will happen.
The city will listen to that. And on the Scottish Rite aspect, you have obviously had a lot of effort to preserve that facility after all these years. It's been a love of your organization.
Yes, it's been, when it was initially opened, it was a Scottish Rite cathedral, and it's been Scottish Rite since that time. So we've sunk a lot of effort, a lot of love, a lot of money into the building to keep it in its present state. I can't tell you how much the building means to us as a fraternity, but I also believe it's pretty unique in the city of Joplin, simply because it's never changed hands. It's still one owner piece of property.
It's still the initial owner that's still tying that together. Well, people who may have tuned in a little bit late, I want to remind them we've been talking about Dickensfest and, of course, the tie to the cathedral, but they may say, how can I get more information? You have a website as well for Murphysburg?
Well, Murphysburg has a website. Dickensfest has a website. Dickensfest has a Facebook page. And I think that the Scottish
Rite has a website. They can find out
Scottish
some
Rite has a
information.
website as well, joplinAASR.com, and we have a Facebook presence as well, although that Facebook presence is more directed toward our membership.
People who are involved. And for getting, people always say, how do I get tickets, or how do I find out, as far as, December 13th, 14th, 12th through 14th, do we need to get tickets? What do we need to do to?
Well, if you'd like to attend, and we certainly do encourage anyone that would like to attend the grand reception on Friday night, it is from 6 to 9. Those tickets are $15 a person. They are available at the door. They are available through PayPal on the website. There are several other locations. I think that
they could find that information out on
yes,
the website, right?
Yes. And then the days of there is no charge for the event itself. There will be a charge for the performances.
Okay.
And those are $3 for adults, or for children under 12, it's free. That's
a very
on Saturday
reasonable
and
cost
Saturday.
to come into the facility and see
Right,
these performances.
Right. But actually, which one floor will have nothing but children's activities that there's no charge at all for.
Sure.
And then the basement will have the vendors where there's no charge unless you're going to purchase something.
So it sounds like it's really a family event. You're inviting people to bring the family, bring the kids.
It's very family oriented. In fact, the crowds that we have drawn over the past 4 years, they involve grandparents all the way down to small children, and they come as a group and enjoy the whole festival.
There's something for everyone, would you say, that they can tie all this
Oh,
together?
yes, there is.
What are you looking forward to the most? I mean, Richard's the first time to be able to do this in a joint effort like this.
Well, in the past they've had Dickensfest out on the street on 4th Street, I believe it was, and we've kind of watched them from afar, if you will. And it's going to be kind of exciting to get involved in the Dickensfest production and actually be an active member and a part of it. We really look forward to that part of it.
Great.
And being able to show off our building.
And bring
because
people inside and let them see what you have.
it's a great time to give tours, to show what the founding members of the Scottish Rite had in mind.
And Nancy, I'm sure you have a lot of volunteers who make this happen, who must be really excited about this new approach to presenting this program this year.
We're blessed. We are very blessed to have the Scottish Rite offered. I mean, this is I think that when we started the whole event 5 years ago, we have always partnered with the churches because
they're close by and
they're
part of the
right
community.
there. They're part of our neighborhood. But this is a great. We really appreciate.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank both of you for visiting with us today, providing some information for our viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Judy.
You're welcome. And I'd like to thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. I'll see you again next week at the same time on this station.